Breaking Down the News, the show in which I wake up, I get out of bed, pour myself a cup of coffee, then I highlight the headlines, and we jump in here into the newsroom and pick them apart, helping you to understand a lot of that weird, wacky language that exists in the headlines so that you can expand your vocabulary, therefore better express yourself and impress others. And maybe even understand this weird world that we live in a little bit more. And so, good morning, mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and all my cousins around the world. It's time to plug in and get this train a-chugging. Well, the prefix auto means self, and autocracy means self-governing. However, autonomous just means that it has its own laws. We're seeing autonomous more and more with autonomous vehicles that are able to drive themselves and navigate traffic, etc. Let's learn a little bit more in the caption below. There's some beautiful words here. The Secretary of State, that was Pompeo up above, he made a decision that jeopardizes billions of dollars in trade and could rattle the global economy. First off, let's go with to rattle. A rattle, often it's a small toy that we give to babies, and they shake it and it makes noise. Typically a hollow something or other with little pieces inside that move around and then make noise. Much like I have here this jar of dog treats, and I'm going to shake it and it will rattle. Hear that? But to rattle the global economy, to rattle somebody, it implies shaking them, and bits and pieces are moving around, and it causes confusion. Like if somebody shakes your head and all of your little pieces go rolling around and making noise, it's going to cause confusion and it's going to disrupt the normal order of things. What is going to rattle the global economy, to shake it up, to make noise, to disrupt it? Well, his decision. And why? Because it's jeopardizing billions of dollars in trade. And to jeopardize, or to put something in jeopardy, means to put it at risk. You're creating the opportunity for it to be lost or to be damaged or to be harmed. Billions of dollars in trade could just go away. People decide to stop trading and doing business, and therefore that would, of course, rattle or shake up the global economy. And. So we make a decision, and his decision that he has made is putting at risk or putting in jeopardy billions of dollars, and it could shake up and disturb the global economy. And now, moving on. Don't know why? Inexplicable. Software. That's not my forte, not my specialty. Pandemic opens door to China's long-sought goal. Sought, I highlighted it here just because we don't see it very often, but it is the past tense and the past participle of the verb to seek. And to seek is to look for. To seek is to look for. However, you wouldn't just say, I'm seeking my keys. I can't find my keys. Where are my keys? I'm seeking them. No, if we're seeking something, it's a bit more. It's like a journey. Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. They were seeking the Holy Grail, the Nazis and Dr. Jones, or King Arthur and the Holy Grail. Is it the Grail that you seek? It implies more of a quest. But what is it? Opens the doors, makes it possible for China's long-sought goal, the thing that they've been looking for, trying to accomplish, trying to get. And that is total control of Hong Kong, if not the world. Seek, sought. Ta-da! That's that easy. We had it yesterday, or the day before, or the day before. A scuffle is a small fight, and it comes from the Swedish word skuffa, which means to push or to shove. And so it's not like a fist fight. It's just pushing back and forth, which is still usually not so good in a newsroom, or the other day in the Hong Kong Parliament. Here, some people were pushing during the protests, probably also in Hong Kong, because that's what this section seems to be about. And he got caught up in, recycled vocabulary again from the other day. Yeah, he got stuck in the middle of it, much like tourists here in Barcelona got caught up in the protests and or mini riots in Barcelona last autumn. Okie dokie. We've got another word regarding related to fights coming up just down below. Okay, to retaliate. China retaliates against Australia over calls for coronavirus probe. Remember, a probe is just another word for investigation. And we had a similar, basically the same headline with different words the other day because A/B testing, see which one gets more clicks. Yeah, so Australia said, hey, somebody, can we get a coronavirus investigation over here, pretty please? And China said, we don't like that. And so now they are retaliating against Australia. And so Australia did this, and they're going back. To retaliate against is to take actions against something. It's just a less personal sounding way of getting revenge. Yeah, to get revenge on somebody for doing something, for having done something. We were 3 boys growing up, and like one brother breaks the other one's toy, and so then he retaliates by punching him in the shoulder, and so it's just that taking action against them to get revenge against them, basically. However, it's much more formal and less personal sounding. Good word though. Retaliate. Incorporate that into your vocabulary. This is just looking at some collocations here. To bring judgment. Yeah, to bring judgment on or against Trump's response to blah, blah, blah. I highlighted it because most people logically wouldn't think of bringing judgment. Yeah, that's that. Blah, blah, blah. Giving the People's Liberation Army the muscle to deal with the security threat, to handle, to manage, to cope with the problem. Remember, no handle with. All right, but to give somebody the muscle, to give them the muscle, the power to do something. Yeah, it's just a nice visual way of saying giving them the power, giving them the strength to do something. When I was living in Czech Republic, they had the same cleaner with the same picture of the same guy, but it was called Mr. Muscle. I just always found that comical. Not relevant to anything else. Moving on. A Russian doctor posted about equipment shortages, and now she fears for her job. Why? Because the Russian state doesn't like the media or people talking about things that are going bad, and so now she fears for her job. She'll probably get fired if she's lucky, or pushed out of a window if she's unlucky. However, yes, so it seems as though the Russian state might retaliate against her. Boom! Recycled headline from up above. How do you like that? He's on fire today. Calling for yet more coffee. All right, but back to this word, shortages. If you don't have enough of something, that is a shortage. What would be the opposite of a shortage? Excess, sure. Or even better, when we're talking about supplies of things, a surplus. You have a surplus of medical equipment, a surplus of grain, a surplus of... Okay, that's it. Maybe the synopses are not firing as fast as I thought, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's some happy news for the world. Everybody loves the show Friends, right? Okay, well, they're going to have a reunion. To unite, to come together, to again. Reunite, a reunion, and they're gonna get back together for an episode, a season, a movie, who knows, but we can all have sweet dreams tonight about all of our favorite cast of characters come together again. Okay. Here's our other fight vocabulary. Remember, the anchors are the main presenters of the news, and they're what holds everything down in place, and everything revolves around them. Well, they've got several anchors, and they brawled in an explosive exchange. And so one is like, hey, I don't like that. I think you're stupid. And back and forth, back and forth. And that was the exchange of words. It was explosive. They erupted like a volcano in insults back and forth. However, I think that this is a little clickbaity, and it's a bit over-exaggerated. I will accept some sensationalism in the headlines, because it makes news interesting, and if it's interesting, people will read it and therefore be informed. However, a brawl is a loud and noisy fight, and it involves fists and often bar stools and bottles and things like that. It was an explosive exchange, just people yelling at each other. You can't call that a brawl, and so therefore I give you a thumbs down on clickbait and over-sensationalizing the headlines. Nice try. Better luck next time. Woo! All right, we gotta roll. The senior is suspected of killing Two people. Not too good. However, it is a beautiful reduced passive and a dependent preposition. And you got to make light of it. Killing two people is arrested or has been arrested by whom? By the police. After a 6-day manhunt. And that's always just a fun word. And when they're trying to pursue and then capture the person who is allegedly the perpetrator of a crime. Just some more collocations here. They are raising concerns. They are saying that we have concerns. Excuse me, we are concerned about it. And it's like the concerns were down here somewhere and they're bringing them up where everyone can see them. And it's just like we had before, bring judgment up above to raise concerns. And here, restart functions like an adjective describing the concerns. Yeah? And so they're raising or voicing their concerns about restarting. Ta-da! Helping to highlight the strange patterns of language that often exist in English and especially the headlines. Trump mocks journalists for wearing a mask. We've had the term to make fun of. Yeah? And so you're telling jokes and it could be in a playful fashion. Like we've also had here to tease. The one brother was teasing his other brother. And it's to make fun of them in a playful sort of way. What do you think about that? Yeah? Make fun of is just kind of general. It could be negative or it could be kind of fun, positive, playful sort of way. If you're mocking somebody, you're making fun of them, and it is especially implies through imitation. Amy, I don't want to do that. Copying their voice in an exaggerated way in order to hurt their feelings. And so this is a bad way of making fun of somebody, especially through imitation. And the motorcycle crash, he was not wearing a helmet, and so he experienced brain trauma, an extremely bad and or damaging experience, which often has long-lasting effects after the fact, even if sort of a full recovery is made. Even if the wounds heal, recycled vocabulary, the injuries heal, there will still be some lasting echoes or after effects from the trauma. Economic trauma expected in Europe. Sure, we can just open the doors, and even if tourists come back, and even if the coronavirus just poof, vanished, recycled vocabulary, disappeared, there would still be trauma. We would still feel the effects of this situation for years to come, with loss of wages, loss of jobs, therefore bankruptcies and or then foreclosures, people losing their homes, and it has rippled throughout the entire economy and society. All right. A prodigy is somebody who shows an uncanny, an unusual, a very high level of skill or aptitude, ability for something, and it's often used to describe children, like the 3-year-old who can play Moonlight Sonata on the violin, or in this case, a chess prodigy. And he wants to revolutionize or completely change the game, move it out of its old, formal, stiff and stuffy and boring Cold War formal sort of environment. Maybe he wants to make it super fun and cool and active. I don't know. But yes, he was a prodigy. He became one of the world's masters at a very young age, like a modern Bobby Fischer or something along those lines, I guess. Nature may be the antidote to our modern way of life. And so an antidote to something is the sort of medicine or medication which then repairs or fixes or stops the infection. And so apparently our modern way of life is the illness, and nature is the medicine which will solve or cure our illness. Tell me something I don't know. That makes perfect sense if you ask me. More people need to spend more time in the nature, and we need to have more respect for the nature because it has an uncanny way of healing itself, much like the human liver. All right. The antidote to something, the cure to something, something that will solve the problems. Dependent preposition, antidote to. I guess you could say antidote for as well. If you are intent on doing something, it's not that you just want to do it, but you're really insisting on doing it. Like, no, I am intent on doing this. We are going to do this. I don't care if millions of people get sick and they die. We're moving forward. You are intent on doing it. You really, really want to do it, and you will do it basically no matter the cost, no matter the problems it may cause. Bad idea. But hey, he's full of bad ideas, right? All right, just some dependent preposition here. Investigations into. Ahead of just means before. To make transactions. Yeah, we don't do transactions, we make transactions, because any transaction is an agreement between different parties and it wouldn't exist. We have to make it, we have to create it, bring it into existence. And that's often, people always say in English, is it make or do, make or do? And a lot of people make mistakes when they do that and they mix them up. And that's fine. We're used to people making mistakes and we're able to understand one way or another. And it's not a rule, it's not a law, because they don't exist in English, but with make, it's usually something interesting and fun, and it involves creation, where doing is just some bull that I've got to do. Ticking off items on your checklist, do the dishes, do the laundry, do your homework. It's not a law, it's not a rule, it's just a tendency. So, that's it for the headlines today. Thursday, the 28th of May. Thanks for all the likes, subscribes, follows, participation, and to anybody else out there watching, because I know you are out there watching in Twitchlandia. I can see the numbers on my screen. Do jump in the comments and or not. Love the fact that you watch, and if you do like it, pass it along to a friend. And so, for English Otherwise, this has been Breaking Down the News. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you at 8 a.m. tomorrow, if not sooner. And so, bye-bye. Stop the stream!